We've gathered information from across the state to set priorities for the next 2 years. Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Laurel Hess and this is Comcast Newsmakers, coming to you from the 2014 West Michigan Policy Forum, taped at the Amway Grand Plaza Hotel in downtown Grand Rapids. Joining me now is the President and CEO of the Grand Rapids Area Chamber of Commerce and the Secretary of the Board for the West Michigan Policy Forum, Rick Baker. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Glad to be here.
Every 2 years, you gather here to figure out what big changes you hope to make over the next 2 years. The big topics right now are transportation, term limits, and talent. Is there any one that stands out that you think is going to be sort of the big baby this year?
I think, well, all three of them are big babies. They're big projects to tackle, but I think term limits are something that is new conversation perhaps for us. And I think there's a lot of interest, which sort of surprised us a little bit as we were reaching out into other communities, that it kind of kept coming up. And so I think term limits will be something that will get some very serious conversation.
Well, and it's interesting. It's not you as the head of the chamber who decided this is what we need to talk about, or a couple key business leaders in West Michigan. You actually traveled throughout the state to find out what all areas of the state were interested in, what all business leaders were talking about.
Absolutely. The business leaders here in Grand Rapids took time out and traveled up to Traverse City and to Kalamazoo and to Muskegon and other places to meet with business leaders in those communities as last spring, as we were starting to develop the agenda for this conversation today, and asked what was on their minds and what are the issues that you're facing. And these three topics were the consistent ones. There were others, but these were the three consistent topics that came up at each of those meetings.
And I know you're moderating a panel on transportation. Certainly that's been in the news a lot lately. Mostly we've been hearing about our bad roads and our crumbling bridges and our lack of funding and our potholes, but the transportation conversation for the business community is about a lot more than just roads.
It is. We would like it to be much further beyond potholes. We would like to have a long-term vision for Michigan and the role that we play in North America in logistics and moving product to and from North America and to our largest trading partner in Canada. And so we feel like that it was a time for us to have a longer conversation than just funding for potholes.
You mentioned Canada. That bridge is not in West Michigan. It's way on the other side of the state, but still a key to the business community, perhaps, to get the progress to move forward in building that bridge, that new bridge to Canada.
Absolutely. That is a priority that came out of a previous conference and has been something that we've worked on and pushed hard with our friends in Detroit and across the state, because it is not just a Detroit bridge. That is a North American bridge. It's a North American trade crossing, and so it's important to West Michigan as it is to anyone else.
Light rail, what's the other sort of crux of that conversation going to be?
Well, there's also the whole, we have deep water ports here in West Michigan, and there are some policies that prevent us from maybe using them to their fullest potential, and the potential for connecting the deep water with rail and other forms of transportation. And so it's really the need for us to have a bigger conversation beyond just roads, but for the whole system of air, rail, water, and roads.
You say deep water, and then I'm thinking the UP and the Sioux Locks and the bridge. So yes, this is absolutely a statewide issue. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Today's Comcast Newsmaker was Rick Baker, the President and CEO of the Grand Rapids Area Chamber of Commerce and the Secretary of the Board for the Board of the West Michigan Policy Forum.